the wide 10. You're never going to guess how he got his name. And what I mean by that is actually his name changed, because the year before we knew him as the wide 8. No G4s whatsoever. He added these completely. He had little tiny bumps for them, so we had a feeling that he would grow into that. But the wide 10 is one of those deer that I would love to tell you have like all these encounters and all this, information on him and all that stuff, and we really didn't. We had lots of summer photos of him, and we knew where he hung out in the summer, but then he would kind of disappear on us. We actually only had one encounter with him, and that was the year before. And we were hunting, from where I killed him, probably 400 or 500 yards away the year before. It was Easton and I in the tree that day. And I remember it was pretty early in the season, and the spot we were sitting overlooked a ag field and a hay field. And so we're sitting in that tree, and we'd seen a few does. We could see a long ways. We were kind of out in a field in the hedgerow between two fields, so we could see forever. And what ended up happening is I look over and I'm like, dang, there's a good deer right there. And Easton's like, oh, that's not that big a buck. And I was like, are we looking at the same deer? And he walked out a little farther, and when he walked out, Easton finally got a good look at him. He says, oh man, holy cow, look at that deer.
Are you freaking kidding me? That might be him.
And so it was one of those things that it was like, we knew he was around. We knew that, he lived somewhere around where we were hunting. But for whatever reason, like all of our trail cameras that we had out, like on scrapes and things like that, we just never saw him there. He just didn't show up there. But we would see him a ton in the summer. The only weak spot on the deer is his eye guards. But I will tell you that this is probably one of my biggest our biggest mistakes, I guess there is. And what I mean by that is our neighbor, we work with him extremely well as far as what deer we let go, what deer we don't. But we had only been here for a little while. We hadn't lived in Iowa a long time. I had never killed a deer that had broke 160. When we saw this deer, though, we try to hold off till they're 5 years old. And anyhow, neighbor said, there's this deer he's really wide. I said, yeah, we call him the wide 10. And he said, I think he's only 4. And I was like, okay. Yeah, we'll watch for him, thinking that, yeah, we'll watch for him, and I hope he doesn't come by, because there's just no way that I could not shoot him. And so anyhow, long story short, after Easton and I see him the 1 year, the next year I'm in a tree, and honestly, the day that I was sitting in that tree, I was trying to sit and stay out of the way. Karen had a weekend off, and so I had her sitting in a tree, and we were trying to kill a different deer that she was after. And so the wind was kind of messed up, so I just kind of went and sat in a tree to get out of the way and watch one of my food plots. And I was like, see what deer are coming out there, might even shoot a doe. And I think I mentioned this in one of our other videos, that before you go hunting this next season, because we get this question all the time, as people will ask us, when do you guys carry your rattling? When do you start packing your rattling antlers? When do you carry a grunt call? And my answer is, yeah, right now. I put it in my pack today, January, whatever it is, and I keep it until January the next year, or June today till June next year. Meaning I have my calls and I have my rattling antlers with me 365 days a year, because you just never know. And so anyhow, and this was a case almost identical to another deer that I had killed, where didn't know he was there. Again, I'm not rattling. I'm not going to go and I don't like to let deer know where I'm at all the time. And so we're sitting in this tree, and a friend of ours, Brock Finney, was up, and he was running the camera for me. And we didn't see much. We saw a few does, and I think we saw one little buck walk by. But what we were hunting was food plot and then a road. When I say a road, I'm talking like it's a road that I use to go from one field to the next. So there's a road that comes up, and it's just a dirt road that I have between the two fields. And then it goes to a big field. And so, but these deer love to walk that road. They'll go from one end to the other. And so anyhow, we're sitting right on it. And I told him, I said, if we see deer in the one food plot, a lot of times what they'll do is they eat in there for a while, and then they come up the road and go into the bigger field. And so we'd been sitting there, I don't know, a couple hours, and I just happened to look down and caught a glimpse of antlers go by. And I didn't know if it was a big buck. I didn't know if it was a little buck. What I knew is it wasn't like a forked horn or something. I knew I saw some sort of a rack. And so at that point, and the wind was perfect from where that animal was, where when I see them, and that's what I'm trying to do, is make sure that the wind is in my favor. And when I saw what the deer went by, I'm like, all right, I can hit the antlers here. And again, I got nothing to lose. I can't see the deer, and he was going by, so why not? So I grab the antlers and I smack them together a few times. And I turned around and hung him up, and I think I even turned and told Brock, I was like, I don't expect him to come running. It was way too early. I mean, we're talking mid-October, maybe even early October when I'm out there hunting. And so anyhow, long story short, I hung the antlers up. I talked to him just for a second, and I turned around and I look to my left, and I was like, deer coming through the buck. It's the wide 10. And I mean, you can obviously see how come you could recognize him immediately. Well, I see him and I realize, man, this is a big deer. Well, he doesn't just come in. He comes in. Like, he comes like right to us. To this day, he's not the closest buck I've ever shot, but he's the closest big buck I've ever shot. I mean, I think I shot him at 6 yards. And he had no clue, and he was textbook as far as doing what he was supposed to do to walk up the road to go from one field to the next. And so when the wide 10 came walking in, I couldn't take it. Brock was on him. I knew, man, even Brock can film this because it's right there in the road. And when I let the arrow go, I knew we made a good shot. Man. And so we didn't even go to the deer. We went and called the family and everyone, got everyone down there, because at the time, none of us had ever killed a deer of this caliber. And the thing I kept thinking about that night, and I think I said it when we were doing the recovery, is, I mean, I just never killed a deer where you put your hands like this around like a G2 or a G3, and there's 4 inches above and 4 inches below. What a fantastic deer. I've never killed a deer with G2s and G3s like this. The tine length is crazy. There's 2 of his tines here are right at a foot, and the other ones are like right at 11. Like I said, if there's a weak spot, it would be his eye guards. And then the only other weak spot, I guess, is me. Because if I had let him go one more year, maybe he'd have been the wide 12, I don't know. But, you know, if I had it to do all over again, I'd shoot him again. So anyhow, that's where we're at. Hey man, if you guys are liking these stories, and we love telling you and showing you what's going on, just so that you can understand, yeah, we have a television show, yeah, we do a lot of hunting, but you know, ours has been a progression just like yours. There's a whole lot of deer that I could do this with that are a lot smaller than this, and I remember the stories just as well, and I love those deer. So if you guys have deer stories, send them to us. We want to hear about them. We might even end up sharing one. But the main thing is we want you guys to subscribe to the channel and interact with us. Let us know what you're looking for. We're going to keep building videos, but we're also looking for, we don't want to just build random stuff. We want to build the stuff you guys want. So we sure appreciate the opportunity to share this stuff with you. And thank you guys for being hunters and getting out there and doing our part and enjoying God's creation, because man, it's good stuff. So thanks again from Raised Hunting. I'm David Holder. See ya.